DirectX 12, the elusive API that all of today's latest games are meant to support. Well, at least that's what Microsoft said. However, if this is the case, what's the cheapest card you can buy that will offer you access to these titles? I mean, new graphics cards right now are incredibly expensive thanks to miners, so why don't we buy used? Here we have the $12 or £10 GTX465. It's a mid-range card from the Fermi series from 2010. It comes complete with 352 CUDA cores, a core clock of 607MHz, 1GB of GDDR5 VRAM, which comes clocked in at a nice 802MHz, and is based on the 40nm Fermi process. And thanks to that Fermi architecture, it somehow manages to consume an amazing 200 watts of power. Yeah, that's a lot. It originally retailed for £250 or $280, but today can be picked up for as low as £10, $12 or €15. Now I like to get all my cards cleaned before I use them, just to make sure they're ready to perform at their best. The Fermi card uses the standard Fermi reference cooler, which is pretty nice when adapted to a smaller sized card. The shroud pops off when you use a 3.5mm jack, and then it's just a matter of getting in and cleaning it. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that the last owner of this card didn't clean the card at all and may have been a very heavy smoker. So to get all the lovely tar out of the heatsink, it's just going to be a matter of scrubbing it all away. Isn't that nice? The card's thermal paste had been burnt to a crisp, so I wiped it off with the help of our usual solvent spray. From there onwards it was just a matter of adding new thermal paste and putting all the casing of the card back together, which took a while thanks to that beefy cooler. The shroud just pops back on and then we're done with the card as it's been fully cleaned and looks brand spanking new. But it may look new, so let's see if it can perform like new. Up first we have Halo 5 running with low settings in the 720p resolution. It seemed to run fine with a steady 33fps average and the only occasional stutter happening when there were a lot of particle effects to render in. All in all, I'd be very happy with this experience, especially for a card of this age. Following this we have Forza 6, which surprised me. I mean, the game looked great even on the low settings in the 768p resolution, averaging a completely playable 32fps. The minimums didn't drop too far below this at 22fps minimum, and really it was just quite a good game. Civ 6 in DirectX 12 mode gave us a great experience in the early game, with averages of 87fps and minimums down to 68, but I really think we're more CPU bound in a game like Civ, so even when the game does get heavy, I'd imagine it to be more the CPU's fault, but DirectX 12 could help out here. Our first poorly running DirectX 12 game was Hitman, which is really a game better played on an AMD graphics card anyway, or of course one of the more powerful Nvidia ones. With a few tweaks you might be able to hit a 30fps average, but currently on the game's low settings we saw a return of 25fps average and lows down to 17fps. In DirectX 11 games such as Grand Theft Auto 5 we saw returns of 48fps averages and lows down to 34fps. This was all in high at 1080p, so clearly there was nothing to worry about here. The game looked pretty great and ran about the same. As for CSGO, it was exactly the same story with 106fps on average and lows down to 70fps. I couldn't complain one bit. The FPS did vary per map, but generally stayed around this figure as you'd likely expect. The game was ran in 1080p with our usual mix of medium and high settings. Finally, rounding off with Battlefield 4 in the 1080p resolution with the medium option selected, we saw very console-like performance with the game looking pretty good and scoring a nice 35 FPS average. This was for the vast amount of the time, with it only ever dropping down to 28 FPS when the game got heavy. So should you get one of these? Well, for £10 it's probably one of the best priced performance DirectX 12 graphics cards available on the market. Sure, it'll only net you around 30 to 40 FPS in the games that it can run, but that doesn't mean it's bad. If anything, this card is the perfect placeholder till the mining bubble is over, as you can play virtually all your DirectX 11 games on it, and well, I mean, even if you just want it for DirectX 11 games, it's perfect to use. So do keep in mind that you will need a moderately okay power supply unit for it to work, but at the prices available for it, an instant buy from me. Thank you very much for watching this video. Good night. And if you enjoyed this video, please do like and subscribe for more like it. I have a 1000 subscriber special still in the works, so I hope you stick around for that.